Hey guys, hey. Um, yeah, a lot has opened up since the last video that I did a couple days ago. Summing up my alchemy the last couple months, working with my anger and working with like perception, cleansing the lens of perception, and a lot, like a freaking so much came in the last couple days, and it was like, yeah, it was like in little waves and large waves of its own. Yeah, and just things that needed to come up and be seen, to be healed and to be included and to be freed, and yeah, to be loved and to be met with understanding, and to see its part in the whole, and how it's been created. Like, yeah, these little things, I'm beginning to see that they're like our little creations, and like now we get to see them unfold more rapidly, and so it's easier to like understand some of the patterns in certain ways that, yeah, we've been operating or being run by. And like it's kind of interesting to see some of the control mechanisms, like, yeah, unravel, or yeah, become like unveiled, to be able to see them. And then, yeah, like it's a little more obvious in certain ways, like how, yeah, certain structures operate and the structures of the psyche operate together. And yeah, it's so like there's so much to it, like in so many ways, like on so many levels. So I got a ton of lessons for myself in like discernment, and of course I'm always learning. And like, yeah, although like I see things like with much different lenses than maybe, you know, a lot of people I know, or I think that's true for all of us. Like, wow, like just the unlimited perspectives that we do have to like work with, see into, and like allow like revelations through, like sometimes, you know. And yeah, it's just kind of a interesting navigation and orientation, reorientation, like orienting ourselves, yeah, to what's true, to what's really true, or like, and just allowing the experience and like all of the views, all of the viewpoints. And that's like a little challenging too, because we so want to make things fit into like a certain view so that we know where we fit into it, or yeah, like, yeah, it's just kind of funny. Anyways, like just seeing things in different ways. But yeah, it opened up a lot for me to like, because I was kind of feeling a little stuck for a little while. Um, like, yeah, well, I was less angry, but I had been in a pattern for a little while, and I wasn't sure how to like kind of extract myself from it, to move out of it or shift it. And yeah, but I was like working with it and willing to pay attention to what was going on and what I was drawn to and like what I got sucked into. And like, yeah, and there was a definite reason for it at the time in the beginning, but then it became like perpetual and out of balance. And so it's like time to remind and unwind from that, and like really still know that like it's good to be informed like with things, but like some of it is a distraction, some of it's a program, like some of it's a soap opera. So I began to see through that, like, because I've been, yeah, asking to see like through some of these divide and conquer strategies, because I know like how they're affecting like me, and I see how they're affecting certain people, in our relationships, in our dynamics, in our interactions, in our communication, like online and now, like, yeah. So maybe that might lead into real life too, because I know I can, like, being with a person, you know, heart to heart, eye to eye, like a lot of the times, like there's just something that's easy to harmonize. Like, yeah, I don't know, like, whereas like online sometimes it seems like we're totally detached and we're in this other caricature of ourselves. Um, and it's all black and white, you know? And that's like kind of like where that meditation that I did last time, like I saw into that a little bit more, like with the cutouts, like how I saw things as cutouts. And like we're all separate and we're all like these bland little characters, like that are pretty limited and not really connected to each other or the world around us or like our creations, you know, and creation, our creator. And so, yeah, it kind of keeps us at war that way if we're all separate and we're all cut out, and yeah, we're trying to put the pieces back together and it doesn't make sense. It's not coherent either. And so cut off from the source, cut off from each other, cut off from ourselves, cut off from our hearts, like in our vision. And that's why we can't see sometimes that it is like about the stories that we tell ourselves, television, like that create like what we see too, in lots of ways. Sometimes we do see things for, you know, what they are, but they also do reflect something back to us that you know, could show us who we are. And like that's all up to the individual to discern and to see. And like, yeah. And sometimes it can help us disarm, you know, when we realize that a lot of like the triggered reactions are because of harm and trauma and not just the program, but like what's underlying the program. And just realizing that when someone comes with a lot of hostility and a hard heart, it's usually because of a lot of trauma and fear and like trying to protect themselves. And yeah, sometimes they're just going to be a wall of fear and they won't be able to like see clearly. And so like sometimes that does trigger our own pain bodies to want to react back to that and to play into that or get sucked into that and play who's right and who's lesser than. Yeah, and be the judge and the jury. And so like, yeah, so I've been reflecting on some deep things about like what I remember Michael Meade saying something, or he was quoting Hafiz about how God's the only one that's on trial. Like we're always making God guilty, you know, like when we don't realize it, like we're always blaming God, and like God's the one that is suffering, you know, because we're choosing to suffer and to make him suffer. And it's kind of interesting, like if we look at the ways that we make ourselves suffer because we think it's righteous to suffer, or we think we have to suffer, or we've agreed to suffer on certain levels, like in conscious and unconscious ways, because we gave our consent in certain ways, like to feel guilty about certain things and just, okay, I'll carry this and I will suffer. And I realized that a couple years ago that I made some agreements and said, I need to suffer, I have to suffer, there's so many people suffering that. And so, you know, everyone's okay, like I need to suffer, I need to carry that, I need to, feel guilt and all of that. But like, of course, I have always had compassion and I've always felt like the collective's pain and always felt like the earth and life and my love of the sacred and like just my absolute like devotion to all that's true and pure and good and beautiful, you know. And yeah, I'm not saying that I don't have my own programs and my own like wounds like to heal and things that like I've had a hard time loving and all of that. Like we all have, you know, our work to do there. And sometimes it is okay, like it's okay to be repelled by something, and like that's right. And but like, yeah, sometimes certain things can show us things about ourselves that we haven't included or acknowledged or like integrated. And like, yeah, it doesn't mean that it's not like happening or that our experience of witnessing this other aspect in another isn't accurate or right. but like it always does. If it comes up and it reflects to us something, it can show us something like about like what love is asking, and not necessarily like that we have some kind of thing to heal, but like maybe there's something that's asking for love and for us to see so we can reveal and, you know, feel and connect and allow that like to be what it is, or allow that person to be like in their way, on their path as they are, as they'll be. But like, yeah, realizing that it's our responsibility, that we have our own like boundaries, and we are clear about what we're letting into our space and what we're inviting into our space, and what like, yeah, what we're really asking for. And if we're asking like to be right, like, yeah, we can always find an experience that we can try and prove ourselves right, or yeah, but we'll always be needing to do that, you know, like in certain ways, and always needing to make someone else wrong. And like, yeah, so we can still like validate like our own experience and know that like our experience is right, but like another is having their total experience, and even if it's not at all our experience, doesn't mean that they're not genuinely like having their own experience, where like wherever that's sourced from, like seriously. And it's all part of it, like the artificial and the organic, like what we're choosing like right now. It's all like kind of, yeah, it's interesting sides of the spectrum, like, you know, like moving away from nature and work and moving towards nature, or working with nature and like trying to dominate nature, trying, you know, working against nature, working against our own nature. Like, yeah, that's like the God complex anyways. But yeah, like just everything, a lot of things like are just so deep to me, and I'm seeing them in many ways, and like, and just seeing like how some of the archetypes like were at play within me and within my relationships, and how like it helps me to see like so many things when I am willing to show up and know that it's all me, it's all part of me too, and it's all part of she, and it's all part of we, and so just let it be. But sometimes it is like hard getting sucked into the programming of like where we kind of feel like we need to oppose, like stand in opposition against something so that we can stand righteous like in our like space, you know, like, but like, yeah, so there's tricky things around that. Like, of course, like we get to set our boundaries, and we get to say like no, like when we need to say no about something, and like do all we feel led to choose, like around, yeah, creating what we need for our well-being and our health, and like we're using those boundaries and things. But like, yeah, when do our boundaries become armor, you know, or rigid, like a rigidity or an identity, or yeah, like a hindrance, like in certain ways, like where we think we're protecting ourselves, but really maybe we're pushing something, we're pushing our own agendas, or giving away our energy. Like, yeah, and so those are good things to look at too. And I've been, yeah, asking to see all sorts of things, like about where our power is usurped, where my power is usurped, and like asking to see deeper into the programming, because we've all been programmed. We all have different programs running. Like, that's just the way it is. It's like just the archetypal will, like the archons have used for psychic control and things, and like it's just part of our personality that we get to heal. It's the false personality. It's like the power that we've had that we haven't been conscious of, and we haven't directed ourselves, but like it's all like for our highest good and well-being to work with these personality like and aspects, like these archetypal complexes, to see like, yeah, like what we're made of, and what our true power is, and like all of these things that we have come in with, like they definitely are, like whether we see them as a blessing or a hindrance, they're all part of us, and we get to like make space for them to work and cooperate and be harmonized together. Like, so it's a reflection like of all these parts of ourselves, and then like going outward, all the parts of ourselves together, each other. So it's just an interesting thing, as above so below, as within so without. And so it's like, it's, yeah, really trippy just to look at things like that in those ways. And like, yeah, to see how our constructs and our beliefs and maybe like our agendas, distort our perceptions in certain ways because we want things to fit. Like maybe we are seeing some truth or following some truth or whatnot, what we have seen or experienced is true for us. And then, and when we told ourselves what truth is, and then when we see something that we want, to fit in with our truth, and it's, like we label it as truth when maybe it isn't, like, or it's just convenient to like use like in a certain way to justify our actions or our choices or the way that we treat others or the way that we feel, or like to validate our own stories, like in certain ways. So like maybe, yeah, we all do get attached to a certain way of seeing truth, or what truth is and what truth isn't and all of that. So it's just kind of funny to see that. And yeah, so many ways to look at it and so many ways to see it, but pretty humbled because just feeling stuck a little bit, not knowing what to do, but I was willing, and I just followed through with like how I was feeling and what I was nudged to do, even though like right before there was kind of like a saboteur archetypal influence that made me feel like super drained all of a sudden, and like doubt what I had to offer, doubt like if it was the time to say something, or just put it off a little longer, and then like kind of just feeling like I didn't want to show up for a minute, and then like feeling really like sick, like maybe I wasn't up for it, or maybe like even just those doubts, those self-doubts, those questions that sabotage and that like keep me from like what's actually like true and in alignment with what I want to create and all of that. So like old interference patterns, or like some kind of sabotage, like, so like just recognizing that, like feeling into that, like it wasn't like a really true feeling of being like tired or drained, it was like something else. Like, so that was interesting to see, like, and then just following through and continuing and just sharing and offering and like just allowing what was going to come through. And then that started like something like going in momentum like for me, so that I could like start focusing on the possibilities and withdrawing certain amounts of attention from external things that really I could see were binding my attention in certain ways, because it just kept me in the same loop, like in defensiveness and in like righteousness, like and I could totally see how like the programs were operating, where they give you a little bit and a little bit. Oh, yep, they were right about this. Like, look at this. Now we know this. Now we know this. And oh, look, this new thing is exposed. And look at this. When it's like all stuff we've kind of known, it's just rehashing the same stuff, like in a certain way. And it is like, it's a roll so slow, like a soap opera in certain ways, like lately, because it's just there as a distraction. In some kind of ways, like we all know what's like, the people that are in the know what's going on now, like, and know like what we need to get to work with and what we get to show up for and what's needed, and like like really focus on like education and like self-reliance and care and building up networks and doing our own work, man. Just like unplugging from some of that now and filling up our own cup and deciding what we want to create and what we need to do now that like we're aware of like certain things and know what it's about and what we get to create and how we get to participate. So like that's my what my focus. Like I wanted to like really put more attention and intention into that, but like kind of slowly extricating myself out of the habit, like where there was so much to take in the beginning about so many things to like to get informed into like just to really understand like for myself and to kind of confirm some things, like some instincts and some intuitions and some premonitions and feelings that I had. So like and it was an interesting journey because it did bring up all those triggers, like going deep into that, all those programs, like where I haven't done that in a couple of years. And I know it used to really drain me and affect me, and it was totally an addiction, like that I broke. And I could see like how the phone addiction, like how like it works, and like how like the more we're on it, like it's like that dopamine and everything like that. And so like realizing like to step back from that again, because I'm seeing like the old patterns like with it, like sometimes like the obsession to check the notifications in the phone and all of that, but like just still being aware of it like too, and like trying to be as aware as I can when getting on social media, like to breathe in and to center and stuff. But like it is like in a way in the last couple weeks way more intense because of the way the collective energy has been influenced with like the conquer and division programs, and then like all the survival mechanism strategies like that keep us like in those wounded aspects, in the survival like shadow aspects of the victim, horror, saboteur, and like child. So just seeing how like those things repetitively like kind of knock us off track sometimes if we're even if we're mindful and we know about them, like just really like it's easy to get lost in some of that, especially like when we're not really aware of like how we're really feeling about things. And like can be even if we know how we're feeling about things, it can be really like hooked into something and then become run by something else, like overcome like by a complex or by a program, or just by an old pattern of some kind that's disempowering and like really not aligned with like what we want to create. Like, and it just like we kind of get like sucked into that way of operating, so I realized like that was what I needed to see, and like it was really good to see like in certain ways. I got a huge lesson yesterday, and it was interesting because like I've been contemplating certain things, and I'm seeing like conquer and division on both sides of the stage, like with like all different kinds of like groups pitting groups against each other, and like but like some of the main like groups they're using is like the Democrats and the Republicans, the Reds and the Blues or whatnot, or the Trump supporters and the Trump haters. And it's just kind of funny how they've built it up over the last couple of years, where one side of the media is getting like this one version of Trump where like he is like this guy that's gonna help like really like help it all like be unfucked, and like take down like the cabal, like, and like corruption and all of that. And like it's such a like that story's been like it like lots of stories, it's like lots of stories within stories, and that is like it sets a realistic reality of for anyone who's plugged into that, like whether he is or he is not, like the programming and stuff, like it makes him in like it kind of presents him as an underdog, like, and like a champion, and like a hero and like a badass and like a hard ass, someone who's get shit done, like someone who you can depend on, you know, like someone who's going to show up and grit his teeth and say fuck the bastards. So, you know, someone that like you'd want as a general or soldier, like, but people don't really want as like yeah, to see as like a role model, like as far as, yeah, that kind of a leader. But like there's all types of leaders, you know, like, and some, yeah, some people need to be hard asses to do what they do, you know. So like, and they're getting like the programs that like, yeah, like um yeah, whatever he does, like it is certain strategy, it's like art of war kind of stuff. And he likes to play the fool because you disarm your enemies, you know, like that. And so like, yeah, that perspective, like people can see like all of these things, and like it fits into their own narratives and their own stories and what they want to believe, whether it's true or not. That's just like my point. Like everyone has their own different perception and their truth, and this is what I've been looking at, because I have my own perceptions about things, and there's things that I don't know, and so there's assumptions that we make, and then like assumptions, like they kind of like cross our wires of like what's true sometimes, like because, yeah, just because of the way assumptions work and like how they're meant to operate, you know. But like, so there's that end of the spectrum. And then like for me, like I feel like I'm in the middle too. Like I'm more leaning towards like seeing that he's not all like that the other side has made him out to be. Um, like because I know like what they're all about, and like yeah, they do, like they lie about like freaking everything and distort everything, and like, but like they play on like the asshole that he can be. They twist things out of context. They make him, they spin yarn out of like these little flimsy thread like pieces, and like make it into this huge pile of dread, like always, like holy crap, like that's just always what they've done, like. And they're like pharma whores. They are, like they're all bought and paid for, like some of those, yeah, politicians, and like, yeah, the all the people that, yeah, are genuinely, yeah, sold out, like, and that are engaged in like, yeah, really dark things and dark agendas. Like those are the ones that paint, yeah, Trump out to be the worst of the worst of the worst. And that's just my opinion, that's my perception. But like I can see like how people who are, you know, in those programs, how they vilify him and how he's the perfect villain, he's the perfect person for everybody to want to hate because of how he's been painted, and like the things that like they've been able to make it appear, like the scripts and things like that they've taken out of context, they have made him look like a total and complete monster. And like, yeah, I can see why like it triggers people, and why like, yeah, why they hate him so much, and now like why the enemy of their enemy is their friend, and that's why they eat up everything that the media says about him, because they want a reason to hate him, and they want a scapegoat, someone to blame. And like with all these other stories that they're feeding, they can like say, look, it's all about this, and they can create a new group of racists, or um, what they call white supremacists, where they can just lump everyone into a group that doesn't like go along with like this kind of like slavery programming. um, they can like target people and say it's this is the, you know, like anytime something bad happens that we create, you get to be mad at like these people over here because it's their fault, and this is becoming a problem. And so it's like, and then the people on that side think they're being attacked because like they're trying to, they feel like they're trying to help everyone, like from like the oppressors, from the true oppressors that have been fucking up and fucking with us for so long. And like it's just so funny how like when we all get into our self-righteous stances, we all have good hearts, we all want the best things, but we've all been like, we've all been a little misled, you know. And so like we all like feel like self-righteous martyrs in certain ways, and we want to see the other as wrong. Like, and I realize like in certain ways, um, like I've seen the dehumanization of yeah, the dehumanization, like the dehumanizing programming at work. I've seen it at play. I've seen it activated. Like, and just because it was so like super like wow, like just crazy obvious to me. Like I was wondering too, you know, like how it was operating or activated in me, like if I was dehumanizing anyone as well. And you know, like in certain ways, because I never like to call like people sheep. That just doesn't feel good to me. And then, yeah, the last time where I was triggered with something where I saw like some hive mind group think mentality that really disturbed me because of past experiences. Um, yeah, that like really did trigger me, and so like I realized how, yeah, seeing that these people really like are like run by a program or like are being like mind controlled in those certain programs, and seeing that they are like kind of dangerous, like they are dangerous because they're being used as weapons. But like I was like not seeing them as people though, like because it was hard, because they were a threat to me, like, and a threat to like, it seems like it's scary because these people can be used like, yeah, as like the new brown shirts because they're swept up in their like morals and values, like what they feel like is right. But you know, even though it's being twisted in certain ways, like because of like they can't see with clear inner sight because of they're blinded by their hate or their fear because of, you know, like the narrative, like where they've been taught to like focus like on like what problem is going on, and what to be afraid of. And like, yeah, just like on the other side of the spectrum we have been as well, like, and there's all like different facets to, yeah, just can't, like, it's not just black and white, but I'm just trying to explain as best I can. If you like, if there is like just the two sides, like if, but there's so many more sides than that. There's all sides. And so, but like with just our limited like ways of seeing and stuff, sometimes we just see it as us and them. So it's like the two divided against each other, which are really one. But like, yeah, just trying like to make sense of certain things and understand how it relates to me, and like on a personal level and the collective level, and doing that alchemy. And so um, just like a lot of insights and a lot of momentum since just being able to speak. And I've been writing a lot, writing, and like I cut myself off from that too, and which is another cutout thing that I guess happened, where yeah, I was like so involved in being online and writing and sharing and like defending and trying to alert, like trying to be Paul Revere and everything, you know, that like I stopped like doing my writing for a little bit, like where that's part of my self-care. And so like that was really helpful for me to start doing, like just to start choosing that again, and like just the momentum of like speaking and expressing, and then that like kind of just like naturally, organically, like kind of shifted and was able to like, yeah, receive the gift. And it just, yeah, opened up a flood of like a lot of different realizations. And then I started just like writing it just a bunch and sharing on Facebook, just because like it was stuff I needed for me, and my words are always the words that I need for me. So I pay attention a lot to my words, like as I'm offering them to someone else, I know they're exactly what I need for me, like in so many different ways they are. Like, so I always like pay attention to like certain things, like about what I'm saying or about like who I think needs it. But if I like, I think someone really, really needs to hear it, like I know I really, really need to hear it too. So like I'm always, yeah, I always take my own advice, and I always look at it, and I always say, how can I apply this to my own life, and how can I embody my own wisdom that's coming through me, like, yeah, to be offered. So how can I really honor that and receive it for myself too, and apply it in my own life? So like, yeah, I'm always aware of that. But like I realized in a certain way that even though like yeah, I know I have a lot of wisdom to share, and I'm not always right, and I'm still learning, and I'm trying to figure out and go as, you know, learn as I go. like just yeah, as much as I'm oriented and like I can navigate, like yeah, I'm doing my best, and like I know I just want to participate and show up and be able to make mistakes and everything, but like yeah, operate from like an intelligence, like, but like also know that I also have my ignorance. So and like yeah, and remember innocence too. And like, and like, yeah, totally see where I can be arrogant. So like I am all that. And so like if I am all that, like, and it's I know that I am, then like when I see it in myself, like it's not such a hard blow to like my ego or my identity or who I think I am. So like yeah, just being willing to see those parts of me because they're all right, and like they all yeah, just so we can be full and whole, like integrating all the parts, not denying any of them, seeing where they come up and saying, oh, that's interesting, or like, oh, like I didn't know that before. That's what this is about, like, or this is what this is telling me. And so it's like so cool, like rather than like judge it sometimes, like we want to do, and like just be mad at it. It's like, yeah, what's asking to be included and what's asking to be integrated, or what's like asking to be seen here, or how can we respond to this because there's something. And then like just being present and being aware, and then like just being willing to like maybe we won't always like exactly know how to respond, but like as we're in that like relationship, it's always teaching, showing, yeah, kind of like revealing to us what it is and how, what is its connection, like what's our relation to what we're seeing, our perception. So like in just so many ways, like those are really empowering, like to see, because it's not just like random, and it's one thing that I got to remind myself, it's not happening to us, like it's happening for us, and it's like something that we get to participate with, we get to respond to, and like we get to say like what it is, yeah. Or like maybe just say maybe it's always going to be more than we think that it is, in so many ways. So, like, just let it be unlimited and let it reveal what it is in certain ways instead of telling ourselves what it is. Like, if that makes any sense. Like, if we can, like, operate from that plane or one of those poles of perception as well as, yeah. Yeah. So, as well as the description. So, I realized that, in my efforts to educate, yeah, and just because like it was an interesting like thing totally too, like because I had been like contemplating certain things about like the division and the divide and conquer, and like how it's working and how it's like turning us against each other, how it's like kind of distracting us from like going further in certain ways and focusing on like what we want to create, instead of just fighting back in opposition. Like it's time to withdraw our power from that, and like know that it's happening, and just like, okay, I allow all things to exist. Like right now, it is what it is. Like it is what it is. I have my own boundaries about it. I know what I'm going to consent to, but that is what it is. So I allow it to exist. That's what it's part of what exists right now. So I'm not going to fight that. Like that's a waste of energy, right? But like, yeah, feeling differently about like the plans and what the agendas are. Yeah, I don't agree with that, and I don't consent to those either, and I don't want to give my energy into that either. And so like, how, yeah, we know that we're what we want to say no to. So now what do we want to say yes to? And yeah, what can we invite? And so it's like just kind of like looking at things in a new light, and asking to see clearly and deeper into certain things about why. Like there's all of this sabotage and mindfuckery too. And like, yeah, how to understand it and how to get free of it, and how like to help empower others. And how to understand and see like when I get sucked into it as well, because like it's so, yeah, it's just one of those things, like we get to deprogram and like, yeah, reprogram. So I realized that observing a friend that I had on Facebook, which I wouldn't call her a close friend at all, but we did share like some nice bonding time in like, yeah, in medicine circles and stuff where I really appreciated her light and what the gift she had to give and just like, yeah, all of that. But like we really haven't talked at all like since the last 8 years or whatnot, and like still been friends on Facebook. And I realized maybe there was a reason why, like even though we didn't like ever like connect or anything, maybe this was the reason why, like because it came full circle. And like, and it is interesting too, like because it's like a gift, like to see like when the shadow can come up too, because it's medicine, like it's medicine, it's potential, you know, like the poison is like the nectar, you know, like it's just like what we do with it. It's like the same force that liberates, the same force that binds, like it's how we direct it. And so yeah, that was super interesting insight for me to see, and like I really realized a lot of things about that. And it was just, it caught me off guard, and it was like nothing like I've ever experienced before, and I want to tell a story about it, but like I feel like I'll save it for another video like soon. But like yeah, just getting all of these things and how like exactly how like it all relates, and it was just like exactly what I needed to see about me, like showing me like my shadow aspects, where I was seeing like yeah, she was seeing probably hers and me, and I was seeing mine and hers. And so it was really cool, like in a way, like whether she gets it or she understands it or she knows the value of it, I do, and I appreciate it. And yeah, it was just really, really strange, and I'm still processing some of it. And I got so much from it, and I wrote like freaking 10 pages about it yesterday because I really, wow, just so much in it, like just that one interaction, and it was just yeah, crazy. So I'm gonna do a video next about that. And I just wanted to check in and say a couple things about like just perceptions and programs, and like there's so much more to say about that, and I want to talk more like in an impersonal way about it, like because like with my alchemy videos I've been making things like personal so they be relatable, and so but I kind of want to like really kind of make it a coherent whole and like bring it all to the table by making it personal and relatable. So like that's my next goal. And also like just talking a little bit about disclosure about certain things that we get to know and we need to know, and like we shouldn't, you know, when we know if we're ready to know, just so that we can take care of ourselves and making more informed choices. And so like yeah, I'm gonna end this video now, but I will be wishing you well, and I will be making like yeah, some more offerings soon. And yeah, be well. Okay, take care of you. Talk to you soon.